Thanks so much for joining us on today's program. Before we go ahead and start with our latest episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos, I thought we'd do a little bit of a deep dive on an upcoming game. And we're going to have a series of podcasts that are coming out in the not too distant future. Each and every Wednesday, we're looking to go ahead and drop it on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. Going to be calling it Game Source Profiles. And one of the Game Source profiles that we're going to be doing today is on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I've got two great guests on to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I know they love the Assassin's Creed series and they are so looking forward to this game among many others. And here today to talk about it are my two co-hosts for my shows right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. That would be the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse. I've got my fellow hosts indeed. First off, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to our newest compadre in crime. It is Marcus de la Garza. Got to go ahead and reach out to him at Castle FPV. How's it going, Marcus?
It's going great. Happy to be here and talking about Assassin's Creed with you and Josh.
Oh, there you go as well. And of course, our resident AC lover himself. It is the man indeed. You got to go ahead and pick up his book, Congratulations, You Suck. Available everywhere you get your books. And of course, his shows, the Super BS Gamescast and Topicocalypse. It is my good friend indeed as well. My fellow National University alumni, Mr. Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up? I mean, I was just thinking about those days sitting in the classroom and all the voices and how I just wanted to play video games while we were listening to the professor talk.
And that's basically what we DM'd each other while we were going ahead and supposed to be taking notes. Absolutely. Yes, I do remember indeed. Oh, shh, I'm sorry. Hey, we got the degrees. We earned it legit. So there you go. But I will tell you right now, we are looking so forward to speaking about AC Valhalla because it is coming out in a not too distant future. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be dropping very soon. I know a lot of people are excited for the extension of the Assassin's Creed series. So Josh, I'll start with you. I want to hear your background as far as playing Assassin's Creed. Where did it really start for you?
It started with the first one. I mean, I've been a fan since the beginning. You know, I remember a lot of people when the first one came out, everyone was kind of bummed out that it wasn't all. They were expecting this like big historical epic, you know, like a Ridley Scott-esque video game, and then it ended up having like the time track or like the animist parts too, where you're in the real world. I know that didn't sit well with a lot of people. I kind of had to like force myself to play through it, but by the time I got to the end of the first game, I was really stoked on it.
Absolutely. And I know he was really stoked on it indeed. But I will say that I'm so excited, and as I know he is, for being a part of it and looking into getting the game on November 10th when it comes out. And I know as someone who actually used to work the game stores and actually run them, and I know 2007 was a critical point as well, because that is when the game first debuted and the series first debuted as one of the marquee names. It was something that was unknown at the time, but the possibility of venturing into that world seemed like something a lot of people would be getting into.
Sorry, my bad. Every time someone starts streaming something in the living room, I get kicked off the internet. So
oh, no worries. You're still good. Stay on. You're with me.
Gotta love that rural Texas internet, man. Yeah. So I've been a fan since the first one. I won't repeat what I already said, but I mean the games have always kind of stuck with me. Like, I'm a big fan of history, and I love mythology, and I love the lore behind all this stuff. To me, Assassin's Creed is one of those games where I can just kind of like sit down and I'm intrigued by everything. I can walk around, I can explore, I can, they have the plaques. I know in the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy, I guess it's called, they have the plaques where you can read about the history of some of these places. To me, it's always actually made me want to like deep dive into what actually happened in these timelines. I know especially during Black Flag, I found myself like Googling a lot of things, trying out like who a lot of these characters were, a lot of these figures were, and what they meant for our history. And that's always been one of my favorite things about Assassin's Creed. But most of all, like, I love the fact that it's really one of those games where like I don't feel rushed to play it. It's I can just kind of sit down and play it casually. It's got a heavy story, but it's also got these parts when you can just explore. You can go and do side quests. You can explore. I love like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like all the towers and RPGs. I love that. I love climbing up the towers, figuring out how to do it, like doing the eagle eye vision, doing the leap of faith. I don't know. And I think especially with like Origins and Odyssey, they did a great job of like incorporating a lot of mainstream RPG elements as far as, you know, being able to level up certain aspects of your character, being able to buy new weapons and really develop relationships with people. I'm, you know, I don't know, Marcus, I don't know how much you played like Origins and Odyssey, but you know, what are your thoughts?
How far does it go back for you, my friend?
Well, I was just going to say, I remember 2007 being in a fraternity house my freshman year of college and playing Assassin's Creed with two of my fraternity brothers. And we would just get lost for like 6 hours at a time. Like we wouldn't go out and do things on Saturday because we would just start playing Assassin's Creed. And it continued with Assassin's Creed 2. I know that two of my compatriots at that time didn't like the repetitiveness and like, you know, just kind of how basic Assassin's Creed 1 was. And so when we got 2, that was just mind blowing for them. And so we kept playing together as a crew, even though we didn't live together anymore. And, you know, we would talk about it. We would all go play, you know, for 2 or 3 hours at a time and text the entire time or keep an open phone call even, because that was back when we had enough cell minutes to do that kind of thing. So, you know, we'd keep open phone calls. But yeah, it's eventually I made it to Black Flag. I never played Assassin's Creed 3, but I really, really, really enjoyed Black Flag. And I think, Josh, you and I had very similar experiences in the sense of I would just start playing and start Googling things and say, wait, is this a real event? Like, or is anything near this even remotely real? Did it actually happen in real time, you know, back then? So,
yeah.
No, but it's eventually I made it to Origins and Odyssey, and I really enjoyed Odyssey a lot more than I did Origins, but I understand that that's kind of a toss up for some people as well. How did you feel about it, Josh?
Go ahead, you guys.
Oh, sorry. What was the question?
How did you feel about Origins and Odyssey? You know, because these are the two that we're having to build off of for Valhalla, and you know, I understand that you can't really go as far back as Odyssey and say, you know, well, that's really going to affect the franchise moving forward. But, you know, to a certain extent, I think you do have to look 2 games back when you've got a new game for a series coming out.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially since Origins was basically like I don't want to consider it like a reboot, but it kind of was like a soft reboot, right? Like we had, they kind of took away the elements of the modern story, and they incorporated these big RPG elements. I thought that Origins was a little rough. It had, you know, you pull up the map and you see like there are certain like not characters, but like bad guys were at certain levels in certain areas. And I know a lot of people didn't like that because like if you're like me, like I have this obsession where like I have to basically uncover every part of the map, you know, and for a lot of people, like that's not how they play, you know. For me, if that meant I had to like sneak into an area with like level 47 guys and I'm only at level 35, like I would sit there and try to risk it, you know. And I know a lot of people did not like that element. And now in Odyssey, you go to places, unless you're in the very beginning of the game, like where you start out, most of the guys will like level up with you. So I think that was a really great move on their part. You know, I think that, you know, Origins was a good like starting point, like this new type of gameplay, but Odyssey really, really perfected it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's something that I think a lot of people are very excited about if they've progressed through most or at least a part of the Assassin's Creed lore. And that's something I want to ask you guys when it comes to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. How much of it do you want them to go ahead and delve into the existing lore? Because I know that's something that some other games are trying to dip into is games of the past that really worked well. They want to incorporate some of that lore, some of that backstory within the confines of current gaming. And Marcus, I'll start with you on this. Your history with Assassin's Creed, for me, it's been spotty. It's been Assassin's Creed 2, which is still considered the finest of all the Assassin's Creed games. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is not too far behind it. Those I've delved into because they seem to be a little bit more approachable to audiences. Odyssey is something I would like to get into as well, because those are the most well thought of. I know there's been pitfalls as far as Assassin's Creed. Which was the one with the graphic issues? Was it Unity?
Syndicate?
Unity is the one that had all the glitches in it.
Yeah, that's with the bug eyes and the no head and things of that nature. I think a lot of people were kind of turned off at that point in time. So they had to quickly at Ubisoft make a about face and go ahead and try something else. And they were able to go ahead and do that. But getting into the lore as far as the Assassin's Creed series and what you think that will be a part of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I know it has to tell its own story, but how much are you willing, Marcus, to go ahead and really expect for as far as the rest of the lore to steep in, to creep its way into Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
With a new game like this, you always have to kind of reinvent the wheel here to a certain extent. But I'm hoping that we we incorporate all the previous elements of the storylines prior to this game. Lore is a major part for me. I didn't realize how big of an impact lore can make to an overall game until I really, and this is going to sound stupid, and I know I sound like a broken record every now and then, but Destiny is what got me into really taking a deep dive into the lore and everything that comes out alongside a game, so that you can really appreciate all the background story and all the writing that's done to go along with our major titles. I'm really hoping that we kind of take a deep dive into the history of the game and kind of take a look at the characters throughout the ages, so that we can incorporate some of these previous concepts, these previous storylines. I mean, otherwise, if you have a totally disconnected story in Valhalla, how are you supposed to know, other than the actual gameplay, how are you supposed to know that this is a continuation of the Assassin's Creed series?
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And one of the success stories is what I just talked about in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Josh, you're a big fan of Odyssey. It seemed like that renewed some of the vigor, because I know it was getting a little bit tiring year after year, after edition after edition. They got heavy into the Call of Duty syndrome, where they came out with editions year after year after year, and some would hit and some would miss. So I want to hear your thoughts, Josh, on why Assassin's Creed Odyssey really seemed to invigorate you as far as bringing you back into fully the Assassin's Creed lore.
Well, it was the first time, in a few games that they had actually like reconnected the lore to, to the series. Like you had, again, Black Flag was an amazing game, but it didn't really tie. It talked about the first civilization a lot, but it didn't really like go into detail about like, all right, where is this pushing the overall narrative? Like you're going places, you're talking to people from the first civilization, whether through like hologram or whatever it might be, but it didn't really connect to the overall arc, especially after like the death of Desmond Miles, right? And the world was supposed to end and all that stuff. And they never really returned to that story. So it kind of just felt like you were playing a game just for the sake of playing it. And then you go back to Odyssey, and they did a good job of like how they, you went to Hades, you went to, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now. What is the place where the Romans believe they would go, or the Greeks believe they would go?
Are you talking about Hades?
Not Hades, but their heaven. I can't remember it right
Mount
now.
Olympus?
Huh?
Mount Olympus?
Not Olympus.
No, I know what you're talking about, Josh. And I'm the words escaping me right now.
Yeah, I usually know. Elysium. That's the
Elysium. Yeah, the Fields of Elysium, right?
Yes, that's it. So you go to Elysium and
Gladiator. Should have said the Gladiator. Got the Gladiator.
I know that. Well, I went back to the Gladiator quote where he's like, "Fear not, for you are in Elysium and you're already dead." Anyways,
that quote, 100% all the time.
That's where I learned most of my history is Ridley Scott movies. So you go.
You're gonna learn Napoleon at some point in time soon.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. And but you have you go to these places, and they did a good job of saying, hey, these gods that everyone's talking about, like they're the first civilization, like they are connected to them. And so they did a good job of like bringing back all the lore that was started back in Assassin's Creed 3, with the death of Desmond and how talking about who the first civilization was. And you get to the expansions in Odyssey, and they talk about like how these games are connected to each other. And so that really kind of like got me stoked again, because I'm like, the whole like Mayan 2012 thing has just been beaten to death. And that was what it was originally about. And then they kind of like, I don't know, put some electricity back into it.
Marcus, I know I know what Josh said in regards to what his feelings are and how Assassin's Creed Odyssey has really brought back enthusiasm into the Assassin's Creed series going forward. I want to hear your thoughts if that was the case for you on Odyssey, or had you been really amped up for every edition of Assassin's Creed, pretty much that you can get your hands on.
No, I'll be honest. I took a little bit of a break there with Rogue and Unity, and not that I didn't play them, but I just didn't play them enough. I wanted to feel the completionist in me wanted to feel like I had taken part, but I didn't take part entirely. Didn't finish those games. I didn't feel happy with them. I don't think I even really bothered with Syndicate, but I came back for Origins and Odyssey, and that's really what brought me back. I've had a kind of a rough history with the middle part of this entire series, and I'm with Josh. They did a terrible part connecting everything here, and they lost some of their players. But I think with Origins, Odyssey, and the reception that they got, they're starting to bring people back. I have no doubt at this point in time that Valhalla should be a pretty great hit, or it's going to have good reception. There's nothing that's been a visual indicator yet that's telling me that we have some issues that are developing already prior to release.
So you're really excited for AC Valhalla?
I am. I really am. And so it kind of even pushes the threshold here of, do I really want to push into the PS5 early, depending on the what's going on with release and everything.
So that's something I want to ask Josh. I mean, it is heading not only to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and PC and all that, but it's heading to a new generation. In fact, it's getting released again November 10th, which happens to be the same day a certain Xbox series comes out, and just 2 days before a PlayStation 5 series comes out. So I want to ask you this, my friend. How do you think playing that particular game is going to be something different on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, as opposed to just, say, going it off the street and getting the current generation copy, which will probably be more accessible and more available to most people out there?
So, I mean, I don't know like how the experience will be different. I know, we've talked about this before with like the ray tracing, right? Everyone's like, oh, what is ray tracing? But it's the whole idea of like where things load faster, right? Like you go into Skyrim, you walk into any city at any given time, everybody freezes for a moment, like they were surprised to see you, and then all of a sudden they start moving again. So I mean, I imagine we'll see less of that with like the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions of the game, where like characters don't take a while before they start like doing what they're supposed to do. But other than that, like I feel like the experience will still be the same, because I mean, these Assassin's Creed, like the newer Assassin's Creed games, are very I guess story driven, and it's all about the open world, and I don't think that unless you like have a 4K television, you're really going to experience the game any different from anyone playing on, say, PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. I'm sure there will be noticeable differences, but unless you put them side by side, I don't think the experience is going to be like worse for anybody not playing on a new console.
And also, if you're playing it on the Xbox Series S or X, especially the X, with the SSD helping the loading times substantially, I'm looking forward to seeing how that changes the way that people play games because of the faster loading times. And Marcus, I want to hear your thoughts, because you're going to go ahead and jump all over a PlayStation 5 if you can get your hands on one. I want to ask you this. Is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, what are you expecting when you jump into a PS5 and you play that game on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo Josh here. With the ray tracing and the upgraded just system architecture, we're going to be looking at better load times. We're going to have less of that glitch effect when you walk into a room and everybody kind of freezes and then reanimates thereafter. I'm really excited about just having, and I have talked about this previously, about upgrading my audio video AV receiver and jumping up to a 4K capable system to go with my 4K TV, because I'm still playing on an original OG PS4, and so that's
terrible. That's just so awful for you.
I know. It's still playing at 1080p. It sounds terrible.
That's horrible. Yeah, I know. Struggle.
But no, I'm really looking forward to the upgrade though, just because this is something that PC gamers have been touting over us for a while. We're playing at at 2.7, 60 frames per second, or 60 frames per second, or whatever it is. I'm really looking forward to jumping up into higher video quality, video resolution quality, just because I like to be immersed in my games. I'll black out the windows. I will turn on some LED lights in the background, and I'll put some mood music on, even though you've got game music going on with your game, just because I want to get lost in my video games when I do have that time to dedicate to it.
I'll have to struggle with my 1080p for a little while. So.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Josh.
Marcus, let me ask you a question. And
yes, sir.
I don't know if I'm the only person that's like this. There has to be a certain like distance between me and the TV. Like if I'm too far from the TV, I can't put myself in the game as much as I could if I were like closer to it. Do you have that problem too?
I do, and it's when you switch locations on the couch, it becomes like a whole new muscle memory, like learning experience for you, because it's just there's something weird about it when you change your distance, your location on the couch. Man, it'll throw you off. I used to like to wheel out my nice office chair, this one I'm sitting in here right now, just to go sit and play video games, and it's hard to do that because that changes your location in front of the TV. It feels like your reaction times are thrown off entirely. So.
Yeah. When we can see like too many other things in your peripherals, it gets like, I don't know.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I'm very much a not a tactile, but like a mood player, right? I've got to have the environment set for me to have the proper gaming feeling or the gaming experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to comment on that because I'll just literally play anywhere at any time. If I feel like in the mood for game, again, I come from a long time way back for playing games, so maybe my standards are just a tad bit lower for playing.
I mean, I'll admit it, Gerald, and Josh might admit it too. I'm a very spoiled gamer in the sense of I've gotten very accustomed to the things that I enjoy, and it's because of that. I know that I'm a little bit of a diva when it comes to setting up my games and starting.
But that makes the experience better for you. So I'm going to give you props for that. I mean, there's been times where I too go ahead and get the surround sound ready and get everything. I remember at my previous house, I had a whole location set up on the bottom floor specifically for that. And I had the whole surround sound set up and ready to go for that. So I understand completely. And I know depending on the game, if you wanted more moody, like let's say a Doom, for instance, you wanted to go ahead and darken the lights. You wanted to go ahead and get that atmosphere, or maybe like a Dead Space or something that's kind of scary or something like that. So it'd be interesting to see how the kind of, the different kinds of atmospheres you want to go ahead and portray in AC Valhalla. But I'll close out our conversation with this. I know you guys are really excited for Assassin's Creed Valhalla when it comes out to retail stores and digital November 10th. Coming up in the not too distant future. But I want to hear your thoughts, Josh and Marcus, on the way out, on especially you, starting with you, Josh. I want to hear your thoughts on your expectations for AC Valhalla. Do you think it will meet the standards going in that you're used to seeing from the Assassin's Creed series?
So I mean, the story of like Norse mythology, like it's very rich, right? It's very, it's very rich, and it's like there's been a lot of things done on it, recently, as far as like
God of War,
Netflix, God of War, Vikings on History Channel. Like it's a very full, it's a very full world, I guess. So that's what I'm expecting more. Like I'm expecting to like have a lot of areas to explore. I want to like feel the emotions that they felt like in. Because they did a good job in the trailer to make you like wonder if your character's protagonist or antagonist, because they are invading this land, right? And so I don't know. I want to feel connected to the character. Like with Odyssey, like my sympathies really went out to this character. Like I was emotionally invested in him, and that's what I want to return to in Valhalla. And I want the music to be good. I want the story to be good. I want to have elements that like really humanize who you're playing as, but I also want them to keep doing what they're doing with Odyssey when they were tying the mythology of the world into the mythology of the games. And that was something, again, with like the first civilization, making them the gods, and I that totally makes sense to me. That's a great way to go, to have the first civilization be seen as gods by all these different cultures. So I would love to see like Odin and Thor and all these, legendary characters show up, and maybe not be the versions of them that we're used to with like Disney, like maybe make them these benevolent gods, kind of like what they did with God of War. And I hope that they expand upon that. I also hope, we get to the point where like the modern entries in the story become interesting again. So that's kind of like my laundry list. I know that that's might be a lot to be asking, but with so many entries in this series, I feel like they have to hit these things. They have to keep, like Marcus said, they have to keep making it better each time they do it, or else what's the point of continuing on?
Marcus, any thoughts on AC Valhalla before we head on out? Because I know you're excited for it. What are you looking for from Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we kind of get back to the and I'm going to echo what Josh said here, a more interesting modern storyline, right? We had a very interesting one with Desmond, or I thought we had a very interesting one with Desmond back in the day. And this is something that we've kind of lacked throughout time, or lacked since then. I would love to see that return to a very compelling modern storyline, as well as a very compelling historical storyline, right? It's hard to find that balance with this series since we've left Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, but that's what I'm hoping for. I've got a feeling that we're going to have a better modern storyline, but I have no proof of that yet, right? Like, we have no knowledge of the storyline and how things are going to unfold. But I am very much so hoping that this is going to be an extension and a build upon of Odyssey and Origin, or Origin and Odyssey, and keep developing as an RPG and a great video game series that we can continue playing for the next 10 or 15 years.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see how Assassin's Creed Valhalla plays out when it comes out November 10th. Again, right on the cusp of a new generation of consoles, the Xbox Series and also PlayStation 5. I know a lot of people that will be the first game they pick up for those consoles. So we want to hear your thoughts on your expectations and hopes for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You can go ahead and pop us an email, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Pop Culture Cosmos on Instagram, Facebook, and also Twitter as well. You can go ahead and send us a message there and tell us how excited you are for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Well, Josh and Marcus, thank you so much for going ahead and being part of this Game Source Profile series. I know you guys are jumping back on at different points of time to talk more about the upcoming video games that are coming out in the not too distant future on future Game Source Profiles. So I'm looking forward to that. But also, you guys are going to be here each and every week on both the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse. So look for these guys to be a part of the show, and myself as well, each and every week as we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture on the Pop Culture Cosmos and the PCC Multiverse. Well, guys, it's been great having you on the show. I cannot thank you enough for being part of it, and looking forward to getting a hold of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. All right, Josh, you are free to go, right, my friend.
Cool.
Guys, that was a cool crossover episode. We haven't had a lot of crossover between the multiverse and the cosmos yet.
Oh, there you go.
I know. We're like our connected universes are clear.
There you go. Well, I know there's more profiles, so you guys saw the list of what I'm doing. So I know Marcus has said COD. Josh, if you're looking for anything you want to jump on, let me know. The list I sent over. So I know I'm reaching out for Watch Dogs Legion. I know I'm still having, to find people for that one, but I know all the rest of them are pretty much, if you want to go ahead and jump in on any of them, let me know. So I know we'll be covering the consoles also as well. Cyberpunk, COD. I know we'll be covering that as well. So yeah, if you're interested in jumping on more profiles, guys, let me know.
All right. Yeah, we'll do, man. Of course.
All right. As I said, you're free to go, my friend.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. It was fun. Thank you.
Have a great Sunday, my friend. Are you back next week for
yes, most definitely. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Just, like when your family goes, oh, hey, I'm at the airport. And I'm like, oh, cool.
Oh, hey, you're at the airport. Okay. Yeah. No worries. No worries, my friend. I appreciate Marcus picking up the slack for this weekend, and we'll go from there.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
All the best. Stay safe. All right. You ready, my friend?
Yeah, can you give me 2 minutes? I need to go get some more water, and then I'm ready to go.
Okay, fair. Well, I'll do my spiel. So,
all right, sounds good. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start with the episode now. So let's go ahead and do it for Pop Culture Cosmos. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate it. Want to go ahead, and if you have any questions, once again for us, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or send it in the comments on this video. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what's going on in your world or what you want to hear and talk about in pop culture. On this week's episode, we go into the future with Star Trek Discovery. Audiences go into the courtroom with the trial of the Chicago 7. And will families go back? And will families go back into the living room with the infinity table? And will families go back into the living room with the infinity table? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back for another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, throw out some of those Facebook gaming stars at us. It is truly appreciated. Plus, I also want to give everyone a heads up there. We've got great episodes that are now on tap for the Lakers Fast Break channel, which I just did an extensive interview with the Lakerholics on part 1 of our Lakers Championship Roundtable. Plus, also as well, I have great interviews from Michael Weisenberg. And you can also catch our 2020 NBA World Championship episode still, where I do a little bit of singing and celebratory exasperation, I should say, because I guess you can call it singing. But, you know, if you want to listen to it, it's right there for you on the Lakers Fast Break channel, wherever you get your podcast. Inside Sports Fantasy Football, I'm still doing a lot of great episodes each and every week with Chris Sardieri. So if you want the inside for your fantasy football team, you want to go ahead and check out Inside Sports Fantasy Football as well. Well, stepping in for Josh Peterson today, it is my good friend indeed. You got to catch him at Castle with a K, FPV. At Castle FPV. He is the man indeed. You got to catch out what he's doing today at Castle FPV on Twitter. It is my good friend indeed. It is Mr. Marcus de la Garza. And Marcus, thanks for stepping in for Mr. Josh.
Hey man, it's been a fun time hanging out with you, and we actually just got a chance to hang out with Josh as well as a combined group, and I'm very proud to be able to kind of step into this moment for just a second. And you know, Josh will be back next week, but you can always catch me on the Multiverse right now.
That's correct. Every Friday on the PCC Multiverse on over 30 radio stations all over the world, and also wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, we're going to be dropping exclusively on, well, maybe I'll throw a little bit of snippet here or there on the shows, but exclusive podcasts that are coming to the Pop Culture Cosmos, which are upcoming game profiles, which are going to be calling the Game Source Profile. So we're going to go ahead and profile some of the upcoming games plus the next console generation, and you're going to hear specific episodes on each. We're going to try and drop them each and every Wednesday on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel as well. Well, my friend, there's a lot to talk about on today's program, including the trial of the Chicago 7 on Netflix, Star Trek Discovery gets Season 3, and also Season 4. We're going to talk about so much when it comes. We're going to talk about Lovecraft Country, which is a big hit for HBO, also as well Marvel TV and Helstrom. We're going to talk about that and the, I don't know, I guess I have some feelings on that one too. It's kind of disappointing to see how that's going to be turning out. Lavanda Lune, I've got some great earbuds I want to go ahead. And in this case right now, I've got in my hand, I've got the Lavanda Lunes direct from overseas that just dropped this in my hand and said, you know what? We want you to give it a shot and give it a try. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to check these out. And I'll go ahead and share my thoughts later in the program as well. Arcade 1UP, who you know from those home arcade units. In fact, I'm looking at one right over there for Final Fight. They're actually dropping other things, and including they've had one recently on Kickstarter for possibly the future of board gaming. We'll talk about the Infinity Table on the back end of the show. And I've got a great guest coming up. He is the star of the show that's now on Amazon you can find, and also I believe on the USA channel it was on last year. It is Stepdads. And I've got Jay Davis, comedian, writer, extraordinaire. He's going to be stopping by on the program later on as well. But first, my friend, I want to ask you real quick, Star Trek Discovery dropping season 3. They're heading into the future. I mean, it was left on a cliffhanger last time, but they're heading into a future where it's a whole new universe that they're dealing with. The Federation is in shambles. It looks like it's a whole new deal for them. It looks very intriguing. I'm having a lot of fun with it as far as from what I've seen so far. In fact, CBS All Access, which you and I have seemed to be talking about more than probably anybody that's watching it, because not enough people have been giving CBS All Access the love. But we've been seeing a lot of great things on there lately with Console Wars and also other things as well on the channel. But Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Lower Decks and all that. But Star Trek Discovery is something that's coming out, which is their high-profile show. They put a lot of production values with it. And I'll tell you what, it's just something that I think people need to go ahead and check out. I know season 1 on CBS hasn't really done well ratings-wise, but I think it's time for people to go ahead and give Star Trek Discovery a chance.
Yeah, and I'm with you. This is just looking at the screenshots for season 3, because I haven't dove into season 3 yet. The production quality has been jumped up to a different level, and I think you've already agreed with that out the gate, haven't you, Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot of money into it. I mean, Paramount, it shows that they're really not focusing on the movies right now, because they're putting so much of an emphasis right now in the TV shows.
So Paramount's behind this one. You just said Paramount's behind one of my new favorite shows that I've just jumped onto recently is Yellowstone, and that's in season 3. But the production quality on that show is very similar, just in the clarity of the
that's a huge show. That's by far and away leaps and bounds the most popular show on the Paramount network, and
I get that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and point out, just looking at the screen caps from season 3 for Star Trek Discovery, it's on par with Yellowstone season 3. Yeah, this is they're not sparing any expense here, and I think we're starting to see this shift back towards TV with some of these not newer series, but some of these series where the companies are starting to put the money into the TV series that needs to be there.
We talked about this on the PCZ Multiverse on Friday with Disney now focusing more on streaming, and it's essential right now for Paramount that has. Basically, Star Trek is, when you consider the whole pantheon of Star Trek, we consider the whole residuals that they get from Star Trek and everything involved, it's probably either at or is or close to number 1 as far as their IPs all time. When you consider it, maybe you can consider the Mission Impossible series or other stuff, maybe that you can. I don't know. That's a stretch. I think right now with everything that Star Trek gives you, it has to be considered their number 1 IP. But they haven't done well money wise, even with the critically acclaimed 2009 and also sequel J.J. Abrams movies. They haven't had a breakout billion-dollar hit with the Star Treks on the movies, and that's the problem. So I think you're right. When it comes down to it, I think Paramount has made a calculated decision to throw all the money at the Star Trek Discovery, the Star Trek Lower Decks, the Star Trek upcoming series. I think that's going to be taking place with Spock and Captain Pike. And number 1, they've got Another Worlds. I think it's Star Trek Another Worlds. I think it's off the top of my head. But I will tell you this: they're putting a lot of money behind Star Trek right now, and that's a good thing for audiences.
Yeah, and I'm on board with that. This is going to be an interesting situation that we're in moving forward, and we've we've talked ad nauseum about how these companies are going to push us forward as far as how we consume our entertainment. But Paramount really has made that shift. They're all in on the TV production, and I'm excited to see the Star Wars IP, the franchise itself, get this kind of attention and this kind of money behind it to really fully flush out these ideas.
It's Star Trek New Worlds. Star Trek New Worlds is going to be the one with Commander Pike, with Captain Pike, and also Spock, and also Number One, who were very popular on season 2, and who did a great job as far as being a great part of that season 2 of Discovery. They're now branching off into their own series called Star Trek New Worlds. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, as well as Star Trek Discovery. It looks like something a lot of people are going to get really invested in. I'm hoping anyways, although I was kind of saddened to see when Star Trek Discovery Season 1, which, again, when it comes to CBS All Access, not a lot of people got a chance to see because not a lot of people have CBS All Access, got a chance to see it. It didn't go over as well as I thought on CBS. I'm kind of disappointed to see the lack of results on that.
Well, and we talked about it Friday, but I think CBS All Access is about to get a whole bunch more, a whole another round of subscribers coming in here, just simply based off season 3 for Star Trek. And then they've just announced that they're going to be moving the CBS All Access platform over to
Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus. Yeah, I mean this is a good trend, I think, for the Star Wars IP, but I think it's a better trend for just TV generally. And call it how it is.
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to Star Trek Discovery Season 3. I hope you're following it as well. If you get a chance to see the latest premiere for Star Trek Discovery in Season 3, and also the great news that Star Trek Discovery has already been approved and renewed for Season 4. We want to hear your thoughts if you're a follower of Star Trek Discovery and the whole Star Trek universe on television. We'd love to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, there's so much to talk about again on today's show, and also as well coming up later in the program, we've got an interview with Jay Davis, comedy writer extraordinaire, coming up later in the program. But I want to go ahead and talk to you real quick about The Trial of the Chicago 7 on Netflix. And yes, it covers a great historical courtroom drama, obviously a lot about the protests at that point in time in the 60s. And it has an all-star cast: Sasha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne,
Jeremy Strong,
Michael Keaton. There's a ton of great actors and actresses in this movie. Aaron Sorkin is directing it. And depending on who you talk to, this movie could really be an Oscar-worthy movie, or this movie is not the best thing at all, because the reviews are decidedly, and I mean decidedly, all over the place. From IGN giving it a 10 to scores in the 30s and 40s. So I want to hear your thoughts. This movie is all over the place, and it is still something that a lot of people are interested in. I've seen high grades as high as in the 80s, and I think the IGN one really sticks out because I think that's going to be something a lot of people are going to point towards too. So I want to hear your thoughts on Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yeah, I just watched the trailer for this last week. I'm really looking forward to sitting down and watching this when I have a chance. This is a story that, I mean, I grew up reading. I guess I lived in the Midwest for a while, and I feel like this is a story that got really retold when I was going through high school and everything. And it's really coming back around full circle in 2020. We're talking about riots, and we're talking about inciting riots, and talking about the handling thereafter, and how do you best apply justice to people that may have not been acting in the best interest or something of the community, whatever it is, whatever you want to describe it as. This is an all-star cast, man. I understand why we have such divisive reviews. You've got people that are thinking about this more from a political standpoint than they are from an entertainment value standpoint, and that's hard to separate nowadays. We've made that push where we're trying to educate ourselves, and in order to educate yourself, you have to take on politically charged storylines sometimes. And so this is going to be one of those movies that I think we're going to have, and like you said, we've already got the 2s and 3s of the reviews in, but we also have the 10s, and I think the 10s are really going to lead the charge here on making sure that everybody knows this is a series worth watching. I take a lot of stock in watching Aaron Sorkin movies, TV shows, whatever it is. The man does his homework. He does a good job of trying to reflect what is kind of true to life. I understand that he's also done a whole bunch of series that are, in the outliers of fringes of truth and whatnot, but he does a decent job of trying to retell and recount stories accurately while also putting that entertainment spin on it. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down and watching this movie. I think that everybody should take the chance to watch it if they have the opportunity, if they have a Netflix account. This is one of those ones that it's a must see. Don't miss it, and it's leading the charge for the Oscar candidates for 2021.
Right now, it is absolutely, and it is something that's very poignant and timely. Consider the fact that it is a battle between protesters and the U.S. government. I mean, whether you're on the left or right, that's your decision. Like I said, this is not a political show, but it is something that this movie touches upon that mirrors what's going on in today's society at this point in time. And I already talked to you before, I think it was you or Josh, that I said, which comedian is going to step out into that type of dramatic role? Because you see almost, every now and then you see that comedian who's well known for the ha-has and just the laughters. You see them step out and have those breakout performances, and you see something that each and every these comedians, I mean, it goes back to Tom Hanks, and then you can go ahead and say Jim Carrey in The Truman Show, and then you can go ahead as late as this year. You can go, this past year when you had Adam Sandler step out of the Hubie Halloweens and all the other stuff that he does for Netflix, which is just a cash grab. And then you see the kind of talent that he actually has, and he's actually able to give the screen. I had said, I think a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago, that I'd said that Sasha Baron Cohen to me would be the next individual to get that kind of acclaim, because I think he has a lot of talent, and you're seeing some of that on display in Trial of the Chicago 7. I'm looking forward to seeing if he gets any kind of marks or gets any kind of acclaim for this role, because I think it's just going to help him. Yes, he's going to continue Borat, and we're going to see Borat here in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, coming up just before the election. We get that. But to see these comedians that can literally step out at any point in time and give these kind of performances. Michael Keaton, to an extent, remember, he played in all those comedies in the 80s and was that goofy guy. Look at him. He's an Academy Award winner, and he's in the film as well. So I'm just, this could be a subject in and of itself where we talk about comedians that both male and female that have actually stepped out of their roles as comedian and tried on dramatic performances to great effect, and how that seems to happen and work like magic almost every time that they do it. So that's like I said, another podcast in and of itself. But this cast with Eddie Redmayne, Sasha Baron Cohen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Jeremy Strong, Mark Rylance, Frank Langella, Michael Keaton. This is just an all-star cast working on this film.
Yeah, this is they've knocked it out of the park, and I'm really and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't know if you mentioned him.
He's come back in the past few months. He did a lot of stuff. I guess recently he was off the radar. Then all of a sudden he's coming back. He's like in 3-4 movies this year.
Yeah. 2019, he only did 2 movies, Knives Out and 7500. But this dude's coming out of the woodwork right now and popping into a movie that is easily an Oscar contender.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. The Eddie Redmaynes, the Sasha Baron Cohens, and Gerald, I do have to give you the nod. You really did call it a couple weeks ago on the Multiverse that Sasha Baron Cohen is the next guy to break out as that dramatic role.
I think so. I think he's very skilled. You could see it. It's just the fact that you see him popping in those comedic characters, like he did with so many other, like Borat, and he's able to get into he's able to go ahead. The dictator. He's able to get into those roles. That means he's got to have some skill. It means he's got to have some type of knowledge of being able to get into those roles. And he could have easily, and he has now easily transferred that over into a dramatic role. So you can see that happening. Eddie Murphy, his latest that he got Oscar consideration for his work last year. and previously. So I mean, you have all these comedic actors that are doing these great things. Once they go, once in a while, they dip their toes in the water.
They cross over.
They cross over it. They dip their toes in the water into a more dramatic turn. And so I'm just excited to see what Trial of the Chicago 7. I haven't seen it yet, but I plan to, and to see, and for myself decide whether or not it's on whether or not what end of the spectrum it truly lies on. So looking forward to that.
Yep.
What are your thoughts out there on Trial of the Chicago 7? Have you seen it as of yet? It's a big hit on Netflix, and I know it could possibly garner some Oscar consideration because it's got a little bit of buzz based off of the IGN 10 score that they gave it, and also some other good scores as well. But it's a very divisive movie amongst critics. So we want to hear your thoughts. Is it that good, or is it that bad? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, HBO's got another hit on their hands. It seems like almost every week we're pumping out another hit for them, or HBO Max, their sister channel. Lovecraft Country is something that I think a lot of people have not yet seen, but need to really get into. How it combines so many elements from the universe of H.P. Lovecraft, and also as well trying to combine it with a meaningful story and gripping narrative each and every episode out, as far as also telling the stories of racial inequality and trying to go ahead and send a message there each and every time out. It does it without really forcing it upon you. It's there, and it's something that makes you think, but also it delves into the delves into the world of weird, strange, and unusual that H.P. Lovecraft is so familiar with. And if you've read some of his works, you'll understand why. It deals with a very sensitive issue, and it also deals with science fiction. Something I wasn't sure that really would go well together, but I'm glad I had a chance to watch some episodes of it so far. I'm truly thankful that I did.
Yeah, I'm about 2 episodes in. I actually just finished the second last night. I'm really enjoying it thus far, man. It's hard to watch at times, but at the same time, it's a compelling storyline. You know, there's this consistent theme that we're actually discussing today. It feels like of social justice and social reform and revolution, right? And so, you know, whether it was the Trial of the Chicago 7 and looking at how their lives played out after the riots, or it's Lovecraft Country existing in a more of a fantastical world with some, you know, actual historical perspectives mixed in there. This is a very pertinent TV series right now, and I'm just shocked. I mean, HBO Max has thrown out another success, man. This is a the channel/streaming platform that is just killing it right now. Really, the parent HBO is killing it right now, and I do have to say, you know, you got Journey Smollett, you've got Jonathan Majors. I mean, you've got some Michael K. Williams. I mean, like, we got Chalky coming back. These are some great actors, and this is a series that everybody needs to take some time to watch as well.
Absolutely. Again, it's something where there's some really serious issues that people need to go ahead and think upon, that are really hard hitting, combined with the science fiction of H.P. Lovecraft, which, again, if you'd have told me up front and I really saw the previews and whatnot, I would have said, maybe that's not going to work. Maybe that's going to be something where one of the messages gets lost. But you know what? It's intertwined so well, and it's done with such care that I think people really need to go out of their way to see it. And right now, it's definitely something worth watching. If you're a fan of HBO, I think even HBO Max, it's already on, or it will be on. So if you get a chance, please check out Lovecraft Country. I think you'll be glad you'll be glad you did. What are your thoughts out there on HBO's Lovecraft Country? Are you as big a fan as we are of HBO's Lovecraft Country? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we hit the half-hour break, and right after it, our good friend, right after it, our interview with Jay Davis from Stepdads and so many other great movies, I want to ask you this. Marvel TV on Hulu. This show the show Helstrom, if I can say that right. The show Helstrom is something that it's not part of the Kevin Feige MCU show. It's part of the previous administration and regime when it comes to Marvel Television, where they were just making random Marvel shows that didn't really have much of a tie into the MCU, or even like the Defenders on Netflix when all the shows connected to that, which had a very loose connection to the MCU. This one, Helstrom, is probably one of the last under that banner that we've seen on FX, Hulu, and also Netflix before. I want to hear your thoughts on Helstrom. It's getting scathing reviews on right now all over the place. It is probably something that's not going to get the kind of love that I think maybe people, or at least some people, might think it deserves. It's probably not going to be extended for season 2. I think it's something that the shows were already made, and Kevin Feige said, let's just go ahead and put it out there for content on Hulu. Because going forward, all the TV series and TV shows have been put in his control, so he can go ahead and intertwine it with the MCU, which makes it more inviting for people to go ahead and check out, and makes it more important to check out. Right now, I'm seeing no reason why I should catch Helstrom. Are you?
No, not at all. I mean, this is the forgotten child of the Marvel universe now. It's been stripped of most of its Marvel labels that could have been put on this. You hit the nail on the head. If you go search Marvel Helstrom, one of the first reviews you're going to find is from theringer.com. And they have a really, really, really good historical perspective on what this show has gone through in relation to it existed with Marvel Television. You have the Jessica Jones and the Ghost Riders and the Punishers of the world that also existed on that in that in that division.
In that universe, per se. It's in their universe.
It's in their universe, and it's realistically in the real world we'd call that the division of Marvel Television, right?
Yeah.
So it would have existed nicely in that division. It's 2 years too late, 3 years too late at this point, and like I said, it's the forgotten child of Marvel Television, and there's no reason to renew this. There's not a huge reason for you to watch it either. I wouldn't say. I got 10 minutes in and I just turned it off. I couldn't watch it. I will say I might be the outlier here. There's nothing that captivated me.
Well, Hulu again is something that as I've told you before, I think Hulu Network eventually will find a home. The whole thing be incorporated by Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus, it's in their best interest to go ahead and loop all the stuff in that they've got from ESPN Plus and Hulu Plus. Yes, and Hulu. I understand and I get the fact that you could package them all together right now, but why not go ahead and make it convenient for all these things to go ahead and loop under one umbrella? It just seems like it's seems like it's something that I think should happen. But be that as it may, Hulu needs all the content it can get as I don't want to say struggling network, but not as fast growing anymore as they once were, especially since Disney is now putting its clear priority on Disney Plus. So with that in mind, this show, it doesn't have to earn big ratings in order to go ahead and get a renewal, but I don't see that happening, especially with the bad buzz around it already. Yeah. And the fact that it's not going to get much love in Kevin Feige's office because of the fact that it's not something that is going to perpetuate or accentuate anything in the MCU, which I think a lot of people now are going to tie to Marvel Television going forward. Let's say the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back into a version for Disney Plus on the Agents of S.W.O.R.D. That has been rumored or talked about forever. Which
I'd be interested in that, man.
So you'd be interested in that, even though people stopped watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC. Right. But if it came back as an Agents of S.W.O.R.D., you would be interested because it ties in to what they're doing on the MCU. I mean, you've got what's upcoming with WandaVision. You've got what's upcoming with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You've got what's upcoming with Moon Knight and also as well Hawkeye and all these other TV shows. Well, She-Hulk, all these other shows that will be tying in to the MCU. So that makes it imperative for you to watch if you want to follow what's going on.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to point out, and you definitely touched on it, and I lightly touched on it earlier, but we're moving on with Disney Plus and Marvel and kind of leaving everything behind, whether it was the Punisher, Jessica Jones, or what was the other one, Ghost Rider. We're leaving that behind. We're moving on with WandaVision. Why do we want to renew this for season 2? Let's just leave this where it needs to be left and move on and start putting out some great shows that actually connect in with the MC, with everything going on right now.
Couldn't have said that better myself. What are your thoughts out there on Marvel? What are your thoughts out there on Hulu's Helstrom? Are you excited for it? Are you watching it now? Or do you think it's just something that's going to meet a short and quick end? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, we've got a great interview for you from Jay Davis with Stepdads, and also some other great works indeed. You got to check out what he's doing on IMDb at Jay Davis. He's coming up, a comedy and writer extraordinaire. It's Jay Davis coming up right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. I want to thank so much Jay Davis from Stepdads and so many other great movies for stopping by on the program today. My friend, I got a chance to go ahead and check out some Bad Boys again for the audiophiles out there. These right here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pop these Bad Boys open on camera right now. These Bad Boys right here are the Lavanda Lunes, which you can pre-order right now. Lavanda Lune. You want to go ahead and type that into a Google search and comes right up as far as the website, because if you pre-order it, these Bad Boys right here these Bad Boys you can pre-order for half off right now. It's a $78 price pre-order because you're buying in early if you're interested. Very good sound. Could use a little bit more bass, but what are you going to get with earpods? I've only had one experience where there's any kind of really deep bass with earpods, and that's with the previous earpods I got from Helm Audio. Otherwise, these are really good sound as far as it's a really good sound, really quality. Has active noise cancellation, which can shut off the entire universe if you want. So if you don't want to hear the wife going at you, the Mr. or Mrs., husband or wife going off on you, or the kids screaming in the background, you just want to shut off to the world, it does have that active noise cancellation. Or with a simple touch of the ear, it can go ahead and go into ambient sound so you can hear the world around you. It's really good, water resistant. I did as the video, you'll see up on my upcoming review, you'll see that the video that they put out, the guy goes in the shower. Well, I did that. It is water. Yes, I did. It is water resistant. It works fine. So it is water resistant. It is rated for that. It is something that I think a lot of people should get into. And once again, I had a very good experience with it. I'm going to have my full thoughts and full written review on it coming up this week at popculturecosmos.com. Hopefully I will get a chance to pop it on as you're listening to us right now on podcast outlets or radio stations everywhere. I want to go ahead and let you know that the review will be up hopefully in the not too distant future at popculturecosmos.com. My full written thoughts on it. I'm going to be very positive on it because for me, it's been a great experience. And again, you can get half off pre-ordering today on the Lavanda, Lavanda Lune, Lavanda Lune earpods, wireless ANC earpods right there for you for $78. You can pre-order now up to 45 hours of battery charge. Of course, that includes it being in the case, so you got to include that because they all do these days on the earpods, but up to 45 hours of battery life. Really good. Really had a great time with it. So if you get a chance, check that out. I will have the links in the description. If you're listening to this on the podcast outlets, you're going to have an option. It's going to be in the description below for you. It's the Lavanda Lunes, and I'm really really thankful for the chance and opportunity to go ahead and check these out. All right, my friend. It's been a great episode. Had a lot to talk about, you and I. But before we head on out, I wanted to get the chance to talk to you about the Arcade 1-Up Infinity Table.
Mm-hmm.
Arcade 1-Up, who, as you see, I've already got one of their products, the Final Fight arcade machine there in the background. I've had a great time with it. There's also many other Arcade 1-Ups that, since they've come out in the past couple years, have really burst onto the scene when it comes to the home arcade market. But they've been branching out as of late. CES, I was there and had a chance to meet with I had a chance to meet with them. I had a chance to hear their thoughts, and they were going into virtual pinball, which is coming out very soon, around $5.99. I think they have a unit coming out. They're also coming out with other stuff, including a big, 3-4 foot tall joystick, which with games that are added that you can play on screen. Yeah, it's a standalone. It's really standing from the floor all the way up to you, maybe up to my waist or whatnot, as far as the controller is concerned. That's for about $99.99. But this one that was put out on Kickstarter got funded in 15 minutes. It comes in a 24 or 32 inch table. And it's really gotten a lot of interest from table gaming. I think they weren't sure about the table gaming industry and how that would go over, but it has built in and pre-existing some Hasbro games, some favorites like Monopoly and things of that nature. A lot of the games from the Hasbro, and Hasbro is the major name right now in table gaming. In fact, they even own D&D. I don't know if D&D is on it, but that's an option right there for you. But a lot of great Hasbro games, some of the family fun games. I want to ask your thoughts on this. The ability, obviously, will as well, I think, to add on games to it as well, of course, at a nominal price, because microtransactions. Could this be the future of board gaming?
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, we all want to get to a point where we can play board games in our living rooms without having to leave our living rooms to play with our friends, right? So,
well, think of it like having this huge tablet, so to speak, that has four legs. Yeah. And you're able to pick which game you want to play, and it's just going to appear on the screen right there, either on the 24-inch or 32-inch.
Yeah, you'd still have to have all your friends locally, but this feels like the first version of what's to come, right? To me, at least. And so, looking at it, you've got anything from Monopoly to Scrabble to Simon. I mean, like Hungry Hippos, even Yahtzee.
Hungry Hippos.
Why wouldn't you want to play this system? So I'm really looking forward to the release on this one. I'm hoping maybe you get a review unit. Maybe I can swing through Vegas. We could play some tabletop games together. I don't know what's going on here, man. I'm trying to see what we can get going. But, I'm really looking forward to this. I looked at their Kickstarter for a while. I watched their video. This is a Kickstarter I think I would love to get behind, and I got to talk to the wife before I spend the money that I'm trying to spend on this one. But this is something that's really, really, really unique, and it's definitely a conversation piece for your home anytime anybody comes in. I would love.
Again, it got approved. It got finalized in 15 minutes. So even though they weren't sure 100% where the table gaming market is at, I think they've got a clear-cut idea now, because they were asking for 50,000 and they right now are standing at 778.
Oh yeah. They're crushing it right now, man. It's for good reason. This is, when you watch the video on the Kickstarter, this will tell you everything you need to know. This is a fully thought out system. And just looking at the way that the touch screen interacts with people as there's multiple touches on the screen, you can tell that they've really thought about the user interface, the user experience throughout the entire design phase. And
I'll tell you what, they're looking at doing probably more things like this in the future going forward as they want to branch out from the home arcade market. They're trying to go ahead and see where they can find their niche in other ways and diversify a little bit. Whether or not that ultimately is going to be successful, we'll have to wait and see. But at least right now with the Infinity table, which you can order 24-inch or 32-inch, you can go to Kickstarter right now and just type in Arcade 1-Up Infinity Game Table. And we'll also have this in the description links for our podcast outlets. Just go ahead and type that in right there or click on it, and you can go ahead and be part of the Kickstarter, because there's still, as of this recording, 42 days left to go ahead and be part of it. I'd say it's been a big success for Arcade 1-Up. I know they're probably thrilled. I haven't spoken to them lately on it, but I'm sure that they are. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this transforms the board gaming, I guess, culture, the board gaming culture, the way we think of board gaming going on in the future. No more stacks like I have right now in my living room of board games that are sitting there right there gathering dust. You'll have it all right there on a table. on an infinity table. No
If
less.
somebody could come up with Terraforming Mars for this table, I would love it because I get tired of keeping all those tiles and cards out across my coffee table while we play.
I think that's the goal. I think that's the thing. I think anything that, because they have the Hasbro involvement in it, I think that's the first place you go. So anything in Hasbro's library that is anywhere near popular, I think they're going to approach it. If they can find somehow a way to go ahead and incorporate Dungeons and Dragons into it, although that would be really hard to do because of course, the fact that the DM has to be, he has to have some semblance of secrecy on his side, or his or her side, as opposed to just going in and having it out there on the table. I don't know if they're going to be able to incorporate that, but if they can, that's going to be even a bigger winner for Arcade 1-Up.
Man, I've already got some design ideas for version 2 as far as like incorporating people's personal devices to act as like a Scrabble like letter tile stand, or for a D&D, for a Dungeon Master, for a DM, to actually have that secrecy by using their own tablet or their own laptop to interface with the table.
Now, if that's the case right there for you, you need to go ahead and pitch Arcade 1-Up. I can send you a couple names if you're interested.
I mean, I don't know how to design it. I can just give you the idea. So, we send that in. They're going to be like, they're going to be like the time I went ahead and reached out to White Castle to see if they can go ahead and come over here and I'll buy into a franchise here. Oh yeah.
And they told me, of course, in the letter at that time, because we were writing letters, that's how long ago it was, that they were family owned and they couldn't have the distribution out here. Well, again, 15 years later, they have 3 out here now. So, needless to say, they'll probably say thanks, but no thanks. But then you'll see it walking around at the next CES. So.
Yeah, 2 years later, it'll be at CES, and everybody's going to be using it. So.
You're like, hey, but Marcus thought of that idea right there.
No, you're good. I mean, but that's the natural occurrence of, or not natural development of tech right now is, just because I've had this idea doesn't mean 8 million people haven't had this idea at Arcade 1. So
and Hasbro, they've got the IP. So
Hasbro's got the IP. They also have who's the other one? Asmodee is the other IP. Yeah. So, and then they've got some Mattel in there too, because Scrabble is technically a Mattel game, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, we've got quite the mix of games going into the Infinity Table. This is going to be one to watch, and I'm really looking forward to the development and rollout, because we have enough time here where they can start incorporating features that we haven't even announced yet on the Kickstarter.
And I know something that's always been, I guess, argued about or detracted from as far as their offerings, as far as from the home arcade market, is the fact that they come out with a unit, let's say like a NBA Jam or a Final Fight or a Star Wars, and they only have 2 or 3 options for you as far as games. So once you're finished with that or played a few times, you get tired of it, or at least some people get tired of it. There are some that are still banking on the nostalgia and just love the nostalgia and love the fact that they'll play it every now and then and whatnot. But for some of us out there that make just, once they're done with the games, what next? What next? So this is a way, with the connectivity aspect of it, that people can go ahead. Okay, I want a new board game to play with a family. Let me go ahead and see what they've got to offer, and let's see if we can go ahead and download it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Infinity Table will do once it gets mass marketed out there. I mean, my gosh, it's going to be something that a lot of people will go ahead. I think next Christmas, if it comes out by then to retail distributors, it's going to be a hot property right there.
Ooh, yeah.
What are your thoughts out there on What are your thoughts out there on Arcade 1-Up's Infinity Table? We'd love to hear your thoughts. If this will change the way you and the family gather around for a board game, share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Marcus is just like looking at it very seriously, in depth right now, just checking everything out.
Man, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about this Infinity Table. I'm not joking, man. I know I tell you all the time I'm excited about the PS5 and trying to get on that, but this is really cool to me. I grew up playing a lot of Scrabble, a lot of Monopoly, so the idea that I could play this just locally on my coffee table with whoever's sitting with me, outstanding.
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it as well. Hoping Arcade 1-Up will at least give us an interview in the not too distant future on this and what they have upcoming. So I'll see if I can go ahead. They always tell me if you ever want to go ahead and talk, I'll go ahead and talk. So hopefully I can go ahead and connect with someone and talk about this and everything else they've got in their holiday lineup coming up real soon. Well, my friend, I truly appreciate you going ahead and checking out and stopping. My friend, I hope you, my friend, I want to thank you so much for stopping by on today's program. Also want to give a big shout out to Jamie Monroy, also saw Nancy Weems and Noah Ian Fine for stopping by. Give us a big thumbs up and big heart out there for you. Appreciate the comments. Thank you so much for watching. As always, we truly appreciate it. Got some great fans and followers indeed. But Marcus, it's been great having you on the program. I look forward to going ahead and doing more game source profiles with you when it comes to upcoming games, plus also other great guests. Josh as well. I know I'm looking forward to that. Check out our game source profiles on upcoming video games each and every Wednesday in the not too distant future, coming up right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel for the weeks ahead. And then also check out Marcus coming up this Friday on the PCC Multiverse. My friend, it's been a great episode, and I cannot thank you enough for being a part of it. Any last thoughts on the way out?
None other than Arcade 1-Up. I'm really looking forward to your Infinity Table, and thank you to the PCC family to having me back on the Monday show as well as the Friday show. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. Glad to have you here. Thank you for stepping in for Josh. Josh will be back on next week's show. Looking forward to that. As again, each week we cover the world of pop culture. As each week we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture as only we can right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Marcus de la Garza, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great